the solution to your problems can be found in your story. Lord Macaulay was like, I propose that we replace her ancient education system, her culture. So if Africans think that everything that is foreign is better than theirs, they will lose their self-esteem. So this is not a surprise.
26(1)(a) to C of the Births and Deaths Registration Act 51 of 1992 is declared unconstitutional to the extent that, in violation of Section 9(1) of the Constitution, it violates irrationally on the ground of gender, and to the extent that, in violation of Section 9(3) of the Constitution, it unfairly discriminates on the ground of gender by failing to afford a woman the right to have her spouse assume her surname, failing to afford a man the right to assume the surname of the woman after marriage.
One of the strategies they used for divide and conquer was to target a family structure. Because if you can be able to deal with a family structure, it's going to be easy for you to deal with the society or with the community. Why? Because these men, these women, and these children come from various families, and they build a society. And a society is built upon logic, based on certain principles, based on certain rules. That is why choices can be dangerous, because every time when you make choices based on feelings, in most cases, you might find yourself in trouble, or you will always find yourself in trouble if you use feelings all the time. So when it comes to building a family structure or society, we don't use feelings. Why? Because the moment that I start feeling in a certain way and I want to satisfy my choices, because this is where choices can be dangerous, because we make choices sometimes based on feelings, that I want to behave anyhow I want to, forgetting that my feelings and my choices may have a negative impact when it comes to the society, when it comes to the community, because I'm living within a community, I'm living within a society, because we cannot live in isolation. So that is why as families, we have to raise our children in a certain way so that they can represent not only the family, but their society, so that the society can have a certain character, a certain attributes, a certain behavior, so that at the end of the day, the entire society can be secured. But now, if you can deal with all these people individually, so, in other words, if you can remove a man from his position, in other words, if you can make a man lazy, if not to have access to certain resources, then in other words, you have begun with your destruction. If you can give many choices to a child, even if a child is a minor, doesn't know about life, doesn't have experience about life, if you can tell a child that every decision they make is right, is based on the feelings, because they have a right to choose whatever they want to choose, then you will destroy the society. This child or this child's behavior will start affecting other children's attitudes as well.
We are. The whole farce is just an overstretch, because the surnames, especially for us South Africans, they are an import themselves, and we have learned to live with them. And I believe that the law will then allow people that do not want to be.
The surnames are an import. So if the surnames are an import, why they don't get rid of the surnames? Because they think the surnames are an import. This is where I say the choices can be dangerous. So that is why a society is built based on logic and not based on feelings. Because if I feel like now I have to be a woman, yes, this is my choice, but I may impact the society in a negative way because some people will be influenced by my decisions. So there are many people who are talking this way, who are saying surnames are an import. But in most cases, these people will talk in this way whenever it suits them because they want to protect certain things. Because right now, as we speak, here in South Africa, many people have been influenced by Western lifestyle and they are comfortable with that. But when it comes to the issues of culture, this is where they come in to say, you know what? No, this is an import from West. But forgetting that in their daily lives, they live like Western people and they've accepted that. Even their children live like Western people. And there's absolutely nothing wrong with that. But now, because now this whole thing has to do with their feelings, to nurse their feelings, that is why they have to say, no, this is West, or this is from West. But here's the thing. There was a time when the entire world was dark. And I don't want to be rude. And most of the principles when it comes to civilization of the entire world was built upon the cultures of Black people. Not everything that we see coming from West was originally West or was originally European, because there was a time when the whole world was dark.
I want to disagree with Mr. Ndwandwe here about the cultural erosion of the law, because after all, we live in a secular country. South Africa does not necessarily cater for his culture as well.
South Africa doesn't cater for his culture. That is why I say, when you think you are free, you are playing with yourself. You are fooling yourself. You are not free at all. Why? Because if you are free, by now you should be governed by Ubuntu. Because Ubuntu has all the principles of life. In other words, if you are being governed by Ubuntu, you don't need a sermon. You don't need a pastor who will keep on repeating sermons to you. But now, if you remove Ubuntu, this culture, then this is what you get. This is what you get, because we have to satisfy everybody. We have to satisfy all people at the expense of Africans. Even though this culture here in Africa is the one that is dominating, we have to suppress it in order to satisfy certain people. Because when it comes to reasoning, we have to end up saying, no, this thing of surnames comes from West. But when the reality, most of these people who are in favor of this new law, they live a Western lifestyle daily.
As a Zulu person, it must cater for other people who want equality in then gaining surnames that they marry into, being men or not. So it will be very narrow-minded to look at it from only a cultural perspective, and then
in our society we give them positions because we think, okay, this one comes from this university, they are smart, they are intelligent, we think they know better than us. But when in reality, those people are the very same people who end up destroying our roots. They target our they always introduce new things. They always introduce new stuff.
I'm very disappointed in the panel's conversation there, because it's very the conversation is very limited. You guys are just looking at it from a point of view of the rights of a woman. in a marriage institution. A marriage institution means individuals are together as one whole, not as separate entities within this thing called a marriage. And you have to go back to natural law. You know, there's always an argument in law between natural law and human law, legal positivism. And natural law, which you'd find this principle of lineage, exists from an accountability point of view. It seeks to create accountability to society to say, okay, when this child is born in this marriage institution, this child, we already know that who the mother is because the baby comes out of the mother's stomach. But now we need to find a way to identify who the father of the child is. And the way we can create that accountability within society is to then say, okay, we need to name this child after the father because the mother's already known. It's an obvious fact. It's a moot point. So from a natural law point of view, you have to create a system of accountability. Now, when you bring in equality into it, if the equality undermines the natural law, then the equality is not good enough.
And that equality system came from West, and no one is questioning it in a form of human rights. You have a right to do this. You have a right to do it. You have a right to do this. And these human rights have destroyed us. This woman is old and she's shocked. I once told someone that it's not easy for me to take advices from people who were born after 1950 because many of them have been colonized to the core. In other words, they always give false advices. So that is why today when you see someone who is old giving an advice, you need to be very careful. The truth is, we have natural laws. And every time when we bring animals, then people will start saying we are not animals. But here is the thing, even the animals are laughing at us. Because since from the beginning, they've been adhering or living or abiding with their laws. But we human beings, because we think we are smart, we think we are intelligent, we think we have advanced, we always shift away from our position.
Equality has to go away. It undermines natural law. The natural law supersedes the human law. I'll just make a stupid example because sometimes you have to do extreme examples. If there was a human law that said, guys, don't care about gravity tomorrow. From tomorrow, we don't care about the laws of gravity. Natural law is going to say, okay, do that, but you're going to die if you jump off a building. So meaning what? Meaning that if there are principles that are hindered in natural law, you cannot have laws like this that come to seek to open the gap. You need to bridge that gap, and that's how you create harmony in society.
Thank you.
Sometimes giving people choice is detrimental to society.
Giving people choices.
At the end of the day, we all have different perceptions, but our perceptions should not destroy our families, should not destroy our society.